Hello, everybody. Welcome to Developing Profitable Retail Partnerships and Perfecting Your Sales Pitch. Now, reaching out to buyers is one of the critical aspects of building your product-based business. It's also probably one of the scariest parts of developing your product-based business because we're popping into people's inboxes, we're giving them a call on the phone. Most of the time, they have zero idea who we are, and we always want to find a way to build that relationship. But one of the biggest challenges that I hear constantly is that from my clients and all my industry friends, it's how do I set this approach and start this conversation and not come across as like that stereotypical salesy like kind of approach, and you just want it to feel organic, right? You don't want it to feel slimy and gross. And I think there's a really easy way to do that, but it just takes a little bit of time and practice. So today we're going to go through some of the key pillars that are going to really help you develop those profitable partnerships. And I'm going to help you craft your message so you can learn how to easily send those emails, get them drafted, build your kind of template bank that you can constantly go to so you're not constantly racking your brain over and over again trying to think of something new and creative to write. If you just really focus on the core templates, you'll be able to save some time and make some sales and really develop those partnerships that are going to help your business thrive. So the first thing before you even start sending emails is you really want to decide on your wish list of partnerships, right? There are thousands of stores and influencers and opportunities out there that your business could partner with, but you really want to drill down and decide before you start the process who is going to be the best for your business. I like to say that every store with a door is not the answer, because you really want someone that's going to understand your brand and have the customers that your brand is going to resonate with. And it really doesn't do anybody any good if you get that sale and it's totally the wrong fit, their customers aren't into it. You might get that one and done order, but that's it. So you've gone through all that hard work and time and effort for a quick shot order. I'd really like to see you, instead of getting that quick in and out, is focus on who those true partnerships are going to be and build longevity into them. Like you want that person that's going to order from you quarterly or monthly, bulk up for holiday season because they know that their customer just can't get enough of your product. Those are the people that you want to have your partnerships with. So before we even dive into what you're going to say, I want you to start a Google Doc, start a list somewhere, and just start making a general list of who you want to partner with. And you can use an everything but the kitchen sink approach in the beginning. So if you see it, feel free to put it on the list, but just know that you're going to be doing some editing down the road to really make sure that they are the best fit for you, and vice versa. You would really be a great fit for them. So now that you've worked through your list and you have your ideal partners in mind, it's time to perfect your sales pitch and really work on your connection strategy. Setting a strategy with tweakable email templates, it's going to save you a ton of time, and deciding on your preferred method of reaching out is going to help kind of relieve some of that anxiety. We live in a digital world right now, so I'm sure most of it is going to be sent via email, but being comfortable picking up the phone and blindly calling someone is something that I want you to get comfortable with too. Especially, it's easy for emails to go unanswered and end up inadvertently in spam, and you might have to make a phone call to follow up. So kind of having that bank of what you're going to say in the back of your mind is really going to go a long way in alleviating some of that anxiety and just helping you work through this process a little bit quicker. So the first tip to make this whole process feel less salesy is you want to prove to the buyer on the other end of your email or the phone that you've done your homework. You don't want to just, again, with the whole store with a door approach, just start peppering their inboxes, right? Like we've all gotten those kind of spammy feeling emails in our inbox when they just got our name off of a list. and there's no relevancy, right? Like you look at it and you're like, why is this even coming to me? So being able to prove that, like, hey, you've actually been paying attention to them and you didn't just pick them off of a list, that you've actually got a connection, is going to really separate you from everybody else that's popping up in their inbox. So, what does it mean to prove that you've done your homework? My number one tip is to go to the store. If it is someone who's local, even if it's a big chain, visit the store. Take a walk, see what's on their sales floor, see what is looks like might be marked down. Say you're going in with a cosmetics brush set and you go on their sales floor and you find this corner and it's got piles of cosmetic brushes being marked down. Take a really hard look at it. And it doesn't mean that you can't necessarily reach out, but you could acknowledge it in the conversation somehow. And you're speaking to, hey, like, I know you might have a challenge with this, um, but I'm approaching you because XYZ. So it's really important whenever possible to visit the store in person and really see what they've got going on. Because you can speak to something that's really cool too. Say, I loved your display of XYZ. I thought that such and such was blah, blah, blah. Like they had a really great associate on the floor. Like anything that really says you have taken notice and your time to get to know them is bonus points in any buyer's book. Now, the second tip is do everything you can in your power and that you can to get your buyer's contact information. So those emails that are a general to whom it may concern, hey friend, they just don't resonate as much. Again, being in the digital age, we can really be Google ninjas, I should say, and do some digging, look on LinkedIn, look at the store, Google the store name, Google articles about the store name, because chances are there's a local paper that has profiled the location when it first opened, a local chamber of commerce that they could be a part of. And somewhere in there, it'll say who the store owner is. 99% of the time, the store owner is also the buyer. But worst case scenario, if they have a different buyer, the store owner will forward you along. So really do whatever you can to get that contact's name. Another really great strategy is including in that email, that short paragraph about who you are and what your brand is all about. It is easy to just click on an Instagram bio or a website and see what it is. But you know what? Buyers are busy and your job is to make their life easier. And in addition to all the other hats you wear, I say this because when you make their life easier, they're going to be much more inclined to work with you because the process is simple. They don't have a lot of time. They're wearing a ton of hats too. So whenever you can streamline the process and just make things easier for them, do it. So in that short paragraph, you can hyperlink to your website or your Instagram, but it's still really, really important to kind of have that elevator pitch that you've got in your back pocket and include it in the email, in the body of the email, because who knows what they're going to click on, what they won't click on. So it gives them all opportunities in different places to truly see what you're about. If you're at the point in your business where you have line sheets or a catalog, attach it to the email. A lot of times people will blindly send samples, and that's actually something I do not recommend. Samples are a lot of money. This is stuff that is costing your business. And you really want to make the best use of your money, really keep those samples for when you need them the most, or it's truly like you're at that next step. Because you don't know who's going to get the samples. You don't know what's going to happen to them. They could arrive, an associate might not know what it is, think it's like an inventory thing. It could inadvertently end up on the floor. It could end up in a back stock room, shoved in a corner that no one ever sees. Like, since you just don't know and you're just getting started, let them see what you're all about. And then it also gives you this opportunity to take the conversation to the next level and discuss samples. But what comes with samples is that actual appointment. So you can really make the most of your time and the interest of the buyer. Um, so also, if your budget does permit, in addition to a catalog or line sheets, you can consider creating a mailer to send to buyers that has some really great imagery and information about your brands and product. So this could be everything from just a rack card to an actual full-blown physical catalog, not a digital one. Everybody loves getting pretty packages in the mail. I mean, if you follow like National Stationery Show on Instagram and their hashtag, you'll see the buyers are always regramming like the pretty snail mail that they'll receive. So National Stationery Show, of course, is a bit of an element of its own because it is paper product driven. So you're expecting these beautiful invitations and accompaniments for being invited to their booths, but there's just something really cool about getting something in the mail that isn't a bill, that isn't junk mail. Again, because we're in such this digital age, like a lot of times we don't get cool stuff anymore. So that could be another great way to set yourself apart from the rest. Okay, so as you've been reaching out, you also have to get comfortable with learning to ask for the sale. So you have your templates taken care of, you know what you're going to be saying, you've hit send, you're starting the conversation, right? So as you're developing your sales strategy, it's really important to ask. You have to ask for the sale. You have to push and propel forward. And there's ways to do it without feeling super salesy and uncomfortable. And it's really just about gauging your audience. You know, this is really the toughest part of selling because we don't want to come across as too pushy and salesy. But in reality, by not asking for the sale, we could be really missing out on that new order. So a couple of great ways to gauge kind of like the feel of the room, how your buyer is thinking about your products. You want to start by seeing if your buyer is ready to be asked. So as you're going through your sales conversation, and I say conversation and not pitch because pitch, again, it kind of goes back to that whole vibe of like the stereotypical salesy, sleazy conversation, right? You're not pitching them. You're having a conversation about them. You're talking about your business. You're talking about their business. You're talking to each other to see if your businesses are going to be great partners together. It's a learning conversation. You're not doing this hardcore pitch. This is going to just feel a lot easier, a lot more organic. So as you're learning about one another, start incorporating some of the open-ended questions into your conversations. So if you're showing them an item, say, what do you think about this? And they might say, I like the black better than the blue. So then you would say, okay, that's great. Does your store sell a lot of black? What's your favorite? And they might be like, no, actually, we don't sell any black. We only sell white. And then you could say, okay, well, I don't have white, but I have this ivory or this cream beige. I love that you want to test some black. Can we bring them both in to see how they do with one another, since black is a totally new color palette for you, but the ivory creams, whites has sales history. So you see how we just took one statement and asked some questions and evolved it. You can also ask questions about how do you feel about this item, or do you think your customers would like something? Do you think your customers would like this wooden spoon? Do you think your customers would like using a smaller cutting board instead of this larger cutting board? It can really be applied to anything. So just start. You can also make a little list of some of the questions that you want to ask and just really familiarize yourself with them. So then they will organically come up in the conversation and it'll take the conversation to the next level. And it's really going to help you gauge how interested they are. I've definitely sat across from people and we've had amazing conversations. I've also sat across from people and have been shut down with one-word answers. And no matter how much I tried, it just felt like I was flailing at every turn. And you know what? It's going to happen and it's okay. Some people are just not your people. And it just means that their store ultimately isn't going to be the best fit for your business. So it's totally fine. But asking some of these open-ended questions will really help you get a feel, and you'll kind of know which way to segue the conversation. So again, back to those questions, if they're really engaging with you and they're getting some positive answers, you can kind of feel like, all right, this is going really well. I'm on the right track here. If some of those answers are negative, you can kind of just keep asking questions and try to kind of get to the root of some of the objections. They could have brought in a similar brand, say you're a stationer and they had this card line that was hand drawn. So that's the only thing that you guys have in common, right? They had, old line A was hand drawn and your line is based in your hand drawings. But that's where the comparisons end, right? They could have had a really bad experience or said, this doesn't sell, this is not going to be for me. Um, you can acknowledge it and say, just out of curiosity, do what, do you have an idea why you think it didn't sell? What was like not resonating with them? And they might say it was way too fashion forward, or the typography was too bold, and they like a much more feminine kind of like calligraphy-esque style. So you can kind of weed out what's happening. And you might just end up sitting there saying, oh yeah, you know what, you're right. It sounds like my line is too similar to that one. Thank you so much. That feedback was really important to me. No matter what, you're going to walk away with some information. You're either going to be taking the next steps to building a partnership, or you're going to learn a little something about what's going on in the marketplace. So as you're going through your different conversation points, some additional signs that perhaps your buyer is ready to be asked for the sale include, really, again, showing that genuine interest in your products. They're being really open and receptive to your suggestions and recommendations. They're friendly, they're relaxed. It's like a really engaging conversation. You can feel it. Like you can feel the excited energy as you're sitting across the table from them, or you're going through the line. Like it's just that moment of like, yeah, this is totally clicking. Or if they've come right out and said, oh my God, I have to have that. Oh my God, I love it. Oh my God, this is amazing. My customers are going to go nuts for this. These are all really great signs that the conversation's going in the right direction. So it gives you that opening. So once you've gone through everything to say, oh my God, I'm so glad we had a chance to meet. Are you ready to place an order today? And just let it sit and see what they have to say. And they might say, yep, write it up. They might say, no, you know what? I don't have any, I'm really tight on time. Can I take some information? If that's the case, you better make sure you get a business card and follow-up information. If you're, at home behind your desk, make some notes in your notebook. If you're at a trade show, I always suggest taking the business card, flipping it over, and writing the notes about that person right on the card. So say you guys connected over your love of dogs, and she's got a store in South Carolina, and you talked about your last vacation there and a couple of other things that she really loved. Write all of that information in kind of like a quick note on the back of your card, because especially if you're at a trade show, you are going to see and meet so many people. It is impossible to remember everything. And being able to reference these in your follow-up email will actually help jog the buyer's brain and say, oh yeah, that was that booth, that conversation I had where we talked about our love of pugs, and she was down here and ate at the restaurant, or is going to be visiting, or whatever it is. It just, again, it bridges that moment and helps people remember, like, oh yeah, that was the booth that I said I had to circle back to, and I misplaced the business card, and now I can't remember who it is. Stuff happens, buyers are busy. So again, kind of going back to that whole making their life as easy as possible, really going to help you as you build your business. So now that we've got through some of the core aspects of building your connection strategy, I want to talk about some of the best practices for approaching and connecting and following up with buyers. A lot of times it can be really challenging to get in touch with them. And so my number one tip really here, if at all possible, refrain from calling, emailing, reaching out, texting, DMing buyers on a Monday. So why is that? Monday is the start of our week. It's when a lot of us are kind of cranking out our to-do lists and trying to get everything done. And it's really important to let buyers have a little time. They are coming off of the weekends. They're trying to kind of regroup themselves. So if they own the store and it's their store, chances are they're diving into their inventory and looking at their weekend sales. If they are buyers for a multi-store chain, they're running their reports, trying to get a grasp on everything. So Monday's kind of like that, like paperwork day. Give them a little bit of a breathing room, unless you actually told them you'd follow up with them on Monday and they're expecting to hear from you on a Monday. Give them a little space, and I always like reaching out first thing on Tuesday. Another big tip of mine is finding creative ways to connect that doesn't include a sales pitch or conversation. So buyers are people too, right? And it doesn't have to be all business all the time. So again, if you guys have similar interests or there's something big happening in their life, feel free to just drop them a note and say, hey, I was thinking about you. Hope your daughter's wedding was amazing. We'll connect when you get back. Simple things that can just say, hey, I'm thinking of you, sending a recipe. If you guys were talking about, say, going on the keto diet and a really cool recipe that you found, forward it to them. There's ways that you can connect and build that relationship that will ultimately, help your business at the end of the day, but it doesn't have to include selling all day, every day. So for those buyers that maybe you're struggling to build that connection with, don't be afraid to ask questions that'll help you get to know them on a personal level. Sometimes this part's even the hardest one, because you're almost feeling a little rejected. Like you're not bridging that gap. Like it just feels awkward and almost like you're beating your head against the wall because nothing's happening. And you're like, everything I try to do, it's not working. And buyers are like everybody else. Sometimes they just have a bad day. Sometimes they've got other things on their mind. Again, going with that whole like human approach, we're all people just trying to make our way in this world and have great days. And some of us have super horrible days. Going with that same approach of trying to get to know them and not pitching them, just having a conversation, you never know what it's going to uncover that could lead to a partnership down the road. Now, the next tip is a biggie. We've all been told about growing our email lists, right? Do not, under any circumstance, add your buyer to your email list without having a conversation with them first. This is like the ultimate spammy situation. I've been at like networking events where all of a sudden I've been on someone's email list and like I barely shook your hand. Like you just don't want to be, our email inboxes are so full, like just showing up on someone else's is basically the quickest way to get you blacklisted and to get on their bad side. So do not put them on the list unless you have a conversation and they give you the okay to. And even with that, I'd still almost send a separate email and say, per our conversation, I'll definitely add you to the next newsletter list. To my newsletter list, it goes out once a month, so expect it to hit your inbox, next week, next month, whatever it is. Really, this is a big one. Like, just don't assume, always ask. So another thing we want to do as we're going through the process of reaching out is we want to have a follow-up plan in place. Really decide in advance how you're going to approach it, because you want to toe the line between like stalker and like I sent this email and now I disappeared again. Really deciding on what your cadence is going to be is going to just make your life easier, because you're going to be able to plan your days and your weeks out better. And then once you kind of have done a couple of follow-ups, sometimes it's okay to acknowledge that it's time to take a break. Now, I'm not saying take a break from the whole reach out process. I'm saying take a break from that buyer who you've emailed a couple times. Maybe you tried calling and it's just not working. Put them on a list to revisit in 3 to 6 months. It's not fun, but it happens. Like sometimes you're just not the best fit, and it's hard to digest the radio silence sometimes. And it's something that like, don't take it personally. Your products aren't going to be for everybody. And I'd much rather see you focusing on growing the partnerships and that are resonating and where you've had some sales, or the people that are excited to partner with you and be on your team. And so it's okay that sometimes people aren't going to get back to you. So just again, kind of put a pin in it and focus on the other people that are resonating and are, engaging with you, whether it's via your social feeds or other places. They are the ones that are going to really help your business grow. And, it's tough not to take it personally, especially as a maker when you put your heart and soul into something. But, it's part of the game. So it'll be okay. I promise you. So I hope you found this video helpful. So in addition to my tips and tricks, I've actually launched a new done for you email pitch template toolkit. So this is 12 pages of email templates that you can also use as conversation templates if you prefer to do your business over the phone, that include a bunch of different scenarios. So what to say in that initial cold email, how to request appointments, what to say when you're submitting a product for review, for in consideration for an event or a season, follow-up email scripts, how to politely request samples be returned if you did end up submitting some samples, requesting selling information, all these scenarios that are going to be happening throughout the building of your product-based business. I really wanted to streamline the process and give you the exact templates that I've used throughout my career when I've been popping up into buyers' inboxes. Because I think, again, having that bank is so important. But I also know how time consuming it is to sit there and write everything and try to edit it and figure out what to say. So I've put everything together for you in a downloadable template. So I'll link the shop below, but you can head to wholesaleforcreatives.com shop and you'll be able to purchase the customizable email pitch templates and toolkits. So I hope you guys have found this video really helpful. Good luck in all of your selling, and tune back to the channel because I'll be adding more video content throughout the year.